Hopefully this is all working. But this angle of myself is quickly making me regret shaving. This like double chin nonsense. Cool. Looks like we're not getting any lag. Audio lag always finds a way to sneak into this stuff somehow. But it looks okay right now. Cool. Checking audio levels. I'm loving it. Now the question is, do we get anyone to come watch this thing? It's always funny how live you get these like delayed reactions of it. Takes like 2 minutes sort of for everyone to funnel in once YouTube starts notifying them. But then if you're going to post the replay, like no one wants to watch 2 minutes of nothing happening. What's up, Nathaniel? And so I sort of vamp to blow time. So let's do a quick Facebook plug. The Fuji versus Leica debate live on YouTube. Shout out YouTube. What's up, Nathaniel? How have you been? Anything new going on in your world? Probably would be better if I just cheated this somewhat over. Just knocked something off my desk. There we go. Now at least the eye line's a little better. I have like a hi-hat that I could use my tripod for this, but I'm really lazy, so I just put it on top of Pelican cases. Oh, why is my thumbnail not updating? Stupid. Yeah, dude, shooting narrative is rough. Yeah, so that's awesome though. I think that's rad that you did that. And my thumbnail is not gonna update. My file is too big. Okay, so I guess we're sticking with this for now. I'll have to fix it after. So I've been sort of going through a number of cameras recently. I started with a Fuji X100t, which this one is not mine. It is my buddy Quentin's, but it's an awesome little camera. I think Ryan Booth basically like ruined a bunch of people's lives in a good way by starting this whole Fuji frame shindig. But so I had an X100t, really liked it, but after a while decided I wanted to upgrade, basically because I'm addicted to upgrading things, and so I got the X100F. Got a mean fingerprint on it. So I got an X100F, which is basically the same thing, just a little newer, a little bigger. And I had that for a few months, and I honestly didn't feel a huge upgrade between the T and the F. It definitely, like, I think the image quality is a little better, but by the time it was like getting done and making it to Instagram and stuff, it didn't really feel like an overly like palpable difference to me. They felt like really similar cameras. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but that was part of what led me to start looking into, okay, like what other options are out there. And so basically, like for me, still photography as a cinematographer is an opportunity to practice and to train your eye. I actually started taking pictures for practice a long time ago after I read this article that a friend, Chris Fenner, sent to me, I believe, that was about basically the act of being creative, and that sort of you have to train that muscle like you would train any other skill for any other sport or something. And you sort of have to always be scratching that creative itch and developing, you know, your eye or your voice or whatever it may be. And so at the time I started just taking iPhone pictures, and I would post them on Instagram with the hashtag always be scratching. But that was sort of my like pre-Fuji frames, Fuji frames type experience. Let me see if I can find that article real quick. Scratching creative. It was like a blog thing. I might have to dig a little more. But I'll try to post it on my Facebook later. I'll ask Chris if he knows where it is. But yeah, so I decided that I would start just being intentional about if I saw cool light and cool frames, I would take these pictures with my phone and post them on Instagram. And I was doing that just as a way to sort of train your eye and train your thought process. And then as time went on, I got the X100t. Before that, though, we had a Canon 6D, which me and my wife own, which she uses a lot more than I do. She does a lot of like family stills and engagement pictures and that kind of thing, and some weddings. And so she loves the 6D. I always have loved the 6D, and like I learned photography shooting on my T3i and a 5D, and like so I love the 6D, but it's a little bit clunky for me for like everyday stuff. So that's the biggest hang up for me. It's just that this thing's sort of a tank. Like I'm not going to carry this with me. So we had the 6D. We kept the 6D. She still uses it, but I got the X100t. And that sort of broke me into the Fuji frames world. Then I went to the F. I liked the F, but the F felt really similar. And so I then just a few weeks ago decided to sell my F and figure out where I wanted to go next. And one of the things that I was feeling was I wanted a bigger sensor again because I missed having a bigger sensor. I don't mind the fixed focal length thing necessarily, but fixed focal length and small sensor was a combo that to me was sort of like, I'm not crazy about it. So I wanted a bigger sensor. I wanted more flexibility, preferably. And I sort of wanted just a stronger sensor in general. Someone's at the door. 1 second. Well, I heard it, but I was busy. So the F wasn't really fulfilling that. So sold the F and have sort of been on the hunt for a few different things. And so my initial idea was that I was going to get a Fuji X Pro 2 with Leica lenses, because Leica lenses are rad. They're small and they're made super, super well. They're optically awesome. You still get that Fuji color and everything else. But you don't have to spend Leica money and everything necessarily. So that led me to get the X Pro 2, which has an M mount adapter on it, so you can put like, this is a 50mm Summilux on it right now, and I was a fan of that. But for me, the two problems with the X Pro 2, I think the X Pro 2 is actually a really, really, really great option for a lot of people. I wanted a slightly larger sensor again, and a slightly smaller camera. So that's just me. But I think this thing's rad. It's actually for sale, so if you want it or know anyone who might, hit me up. This lens is available too. Drop me an email or a message or something. So I got the X Pro 2, and then didn't really decide. Thankfully, had a local buddy offer to let me borrow his Leica M240, and that's what this guy is. And the M240 is a tank. I think it weighs, yeah, the Leica definitely weighs more than the 6D does, but it's smaller. And but do you need these cameras to connect with iPhone for Instagram? Blah blah blah. I mean, it depends. You're not an iPhone picture on Instagram is never going to look like a Leica portrait or something. You can get away with Instagram with your phone, especially depending on what you're trying to do. But the sensor is very different. Your ability to manipulate it's very different. The depth of field is very different. The optics are very different. And as someone who works with expensive cameras for motion all the time that have good lenses and have good dynamic range and all these things, I like having that when I'm practicing, because it's frustrating to try and take a shot that you know that you could achieve, with, in my case, the Amira or something, and just have it not be there when you try to go for stills. So got the M240. M240 is awesome. And And so I've been borrowing this for a few days. If you see my Instagram, I've been posting a lot of pictures of it, with it, I should say. And this Voigtlander 35mm 1.2 prime, which is awesome. Thank you to Eric for letting me borrow that. But I've sort of felt like the two issues I have with the 240 are it's expensive, because it's like, even used, you're looking at over $3,000 for a body, and then like that 50mm Summilux or anything is, you know, another $3,000. So you're talking $6,000, which is sort of a lot for what I'm looking to do. And so all that round and round has led me to purchasing a Leica Q, and that's the direction I'm heading in the meantime. So unfortunately, that guy isn't in yet, so I can't show it to you. But that's gonna be my landing place for now. We'll see how long it lasts. But that's sort of the current plan, is to use the Leica Q, and it's sort of Leica's version of the X100F or something, where it's a fixed lens little guy. So I'm pretty excited about it, amped for it to come in. You guys will probably see more pictures from it on my Instagram and whatnot. But I would say that, you know, through this whole experience, the most important thing is just using whatever camera you have and whatever camera you can afford. And so if that's a Fuji, you know, get the Fuji. If it's a 6D or a 5D, then get that. If it's the Fuji X Pro 2, buy this one. It's an awesome camera, has soft release and thumb rest and all this stuff. The X Pro 2, Leica lenses, is a great option, and it's cheaper than going full Leica right away. You can start investing in lenses and then switch to a Leica body later if you want. If you just want something that's super awesome all around, get the 240. Love the 240. Full frame, it's small, it is heavy, but it's at least not like intimidating looking. Most people don't look at you twice with this thing. Patrick O'Sullivan does a great job with this camera. And then if you are me, you gotta like a Q. So we'll see how that all lands. But at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer in using the tool you have, whether that's your phone or a $500 camera, a $1,000 camera, a $5,000 camera, or a $50,000 camera. So I don't know that the camera matters that much, but for me, the most important thing is that the camera you have with you is most important. And so, like, the reason that the 6D isn't great for me is because I don't take it with me. And so I wanted something smaller. But because I'm not happy with the images, I usually don't use my phone to take pictures that much. And so finding that middle ground of something portable with enough image quality that I can be happy with it allows me to take more pictures, because you take more pictures when you're happy with the pictures you're taking, you know? So that's sort of where I'm at with all of that. Another thing is sort of efficiency of workflow, and that's one of the things that I like about the Fujis, the X Pro 2 and the Leica Q, is that it has Wi-Fi built in, and so a lot of the times I will bounce the photos straight to my phone from the camera and edit them on my phone, and then post them right to Instagram within like 5 minutes of taking them, and I don't have to like go dump a card, go into Lightroom and all that kind of stuff. So that's another factor that can come into play. So does anyone have questions on any of that? I don't know. Anyone got anything? Could also be unrelated, but anything on the subject of cameras and Instagram and practice. And you know, I think that one of the great things about practicing photography is that it makes you always aware, and awareness is really good. And another thing that it does is when you're always aware, then when you go and you are like, oh, that looks like it'll be awesome, and you try to take the picture and it doesn't work, you learn what works and what doesn't work. And when you're offset, just practicing that and getting that sort of muscle memory of, oh, that won't work, oh, this works better than you think it will, just helps inform your skill set as a filmmaker. People do use Leica lenses for film. Excuse me. You just need a camera with an M mount on it, and the person who I know who does it the most is Ben Jacks. Let me see if I can pull up real quick. Ben Jacks. But you can get a Leica M mount for RED cameras. And if you do that, then you can put them on there. I think that would be super rad. I would love to get an M mount for our Ari, but they don't have one yet, so not an option for me right now. Let me see if I can find Ben's thing real quick. But yeah, long story short, you totally can put Leica lenses on there. I'm digging through Ben's feed. I thought he had a picture of his Red with Leica lenses on it recently, but maybe it's older than I thought it was. Oh, here we go. Screen display capture. Bloop. So this is Ben's Epic W with a little Leica lens on it. So it's totally doable. You just need an M mount on your camera. So that's another cool thing that you can do if you decide to go that route. There was another question. Let me see what the other question is. I have an X100t, and I was thinking of buying the wide lens converter. Would it be better getting X Pro 2 with better lenses? It really depends, honestly, on your budget and your goals. Just getting a wide lens adapter is probably cheaper than getting another camera and more lenses, but I definitely think it's a little more limiting too. I had the telephoto adapter for the X100F, and I didn't love it just because it was sort of clunky. I'd rather just have a longer lens. So if you have the money and that's important to you, then I would definitely consider making the switch. You don't have to even go Leica lenses. You know, you can always do something different. But yeah, if you're interested in the X Pro 2, hit me up. But I would say that it really just depends on how important it is to you. The wide lens converter will get you there, but it's not optimal. But it depends on if it's worth it for you to upgrade otherwise. Yeah, but the X Pro 2 is cool. I don't love the way, because it's like it's a bigger filter size, and like there's no good way to transport those lens adapters for the Fuji. Luke asks, what's your thoughts on uploading photos to Instagram? Have you ever found work from it? I get tons of work from Instagram because productions and directors and stuff, maybe not always strictly from Instagram, but I think it's always a huge part of it because you're putting your look out there and your aesthetic and what you like, and production and directors and stuff see that, and if it makes it real easy when they see stuff all the time for them to connect you to a project they have coming up. And so I think that can be super valuable to sort of marketing yourself, is putting out images that you like, I think is important, and images that are well done and in the style you want to be working in. That can be super critical to getting work. So I've found it to be super valuable. But your mileage may vary depending on sort of your network on Instagram and whatnot too. The Voigtlander 35mm is awesome. I have loved every single picture I've taken with it. The only problem with it is that it's a little bit heavy, like compared to the Leica. So if I were gonna own this camera, I'd maybe get the Leica version, just because it's smaller and lighter. But the Voigtlander one is fantastic. Optically, it looks really, really good. And it's way cheaper, so, you know, depends what you're looking to do. But the Voigtlander one's awesome. If you look at any of the last set of M240 pictures on my Instagram, they're pretty much all taken with that lens. Yeah, Leica R's are fantastic. You can put them on RE cameras as well, or adapt them to EF, but they're expensive because they're popular right now. If you owned a cinema camera and an XT2, would you shoot smaller, cheaper projects with the small XT2, or would you shoot everything with the cinema camera? Probably depends on the cinema camera and depends on the project. I would probably say that I would shoot everything with the cinema camera. I don't really like shooting video on photo cameras ever. So I don't see myself doing that, but maybe if for some reason it was like super run and gun, and if the cinema camera was bigger for some reason, or we only had bigger lenses, I would consider it. But for the most part, I'd probably always use the cinema camera for motion. But I would maybe, like, you could maybe use the XT2 as like a B camera for certain things too. Do you use certain hashtags? I tend to use the C9 preset on VSCO, but I'm thinking of creating my own preset on Lightroom. Is it worth doing this and creating my own style at a younger age? I I think the first thing that I would say is I would definitely be inclined to like broaden your horizon. We all have looks that we tend towards, but I try to always look at a number of looks on any given picture, just to broaden my own window and not fall into a rut sort of with images. So there's nothing wrong with doing the C9 thing, but I feel like it's like Ryan Booth has found a way to make that work really well. And if you're not Ryan Booth, then there's really no need to do that. So there's nothing wrong with it, but I would definitely be inclined to suggest trying other stuff. I love the RNI Films app. I use it for a ton of my stuff. But VSCO's really cool too. I have the like subscription where you get all their stuff. You can also create your own preset in Lightroom. I don't know that like your processing thing is like the most critical thing to your style. I think the actual images are more important, but you could totally make your own preset. I tend to tweak any preset that I put on any of my images. I don't really like to just hit stuff and take it at face value. So I think it depends, because for the most part, we all have something that we're looking for, and so we'll try and find a preset that like gets us as close to that thing as possible. It's sort of a conversation that I had with a really good guitar player a while ago, where he said that everyone takes distortion pedals, and no matter which pedal you have, there's a sound in your head, and everyone tries to get their pedal to sound like the thing that's in their head. So you get a bunch of different pedals and they all end up sounding the same. And I think that can be true of presets and editing with photos too, is that you're always going towards the same thing. So it's just about finding the best way to get yourself there, but also trying different things and mixing it up. Network on Instagram, I would say just be active, post things, talk to people, find people, comment on stuff, post good work. Hashtags can help. I only ever use a few, and they're pretty consistent, and I don't know how much they help, and it's like cinematography, filmmaking, and photography, so they're pretty broad. Best lenses for DSLR video: selling your DSLR and getting a cinema camera would be my recommendation. I'm a firm believer that the DSLR revolution is over and that people need to move on, personally, because I don't think that it's not a very good solution for making video. They're just not good video cameras. But if you have to, then, Rokinon lenses are cheap and they get the job done. But you can use any lens. It really depends on the right thing for the job. But I assume if you're shooting with a DSLR, it's because you don't have a lot of budget, and so you might want to get Rokinons or something. But yeah, so I think that might be it for this video today. Just sort of wanted to answer some of the questions I've been getting asked about the Switch and whatnot. So you can keep an eye on Instagram to see the images from the queue when it comes in. If you're interested in the X Pro 2, let me know. If you have any other questions or thoughts on any of this, leave a comment below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.